Growing Up Boomer. I'm your host, Padre, with my co-host, Cotton. And this podcast is dedicated to the life and times of the baby boomer generation. The show is loosely scripted, and sometimes we'll go down rabbit holes, and where it leads us to, one will never know. This podcast can be informative, funny, and sometimes irreverent. But most of all, we hope you find it entertaining. Hey, Cotton, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing fine. And yourself, Padre?
Oh, man, I cannot complain. But you know what? My birthday's just around the corner, and you know what I found out at my age?
Whoa, I'm afraid to ask.
I find out that I need a fire extinguisher close by when they light the candles on my birthday cake.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, man,
I thought you were going to come up with depends.
That's after I blow out the candles. Yeah, just don't sneeze while you're doing it, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, man, do you know what the podcast is about today?
I believe it's John Wayne today.
You are correct, sir. The Duke.
Well, hello there, Padre. How the heck are you?
That is good.
Well, I tell you, Pilgrim, you gotta cross that bridge and you better not fall in.
Cotton, I gotta tell you, man, that's not bad. I think you sound more like John Wayne than John Wayne himself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but let's get back to our podcast on John Wayne. What do you say?
That sounds great to me.
All righty. Now, do you know what John Wayne's given name was? Because it wasn't John Wayne. That was his stage name.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what his...
It was Marion Robert Morrison.
You are correct, sir.
That's right. And his...
I mean, let's be honest. John Wayne was a icon of the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I mean,
Yep.
The guy, he made about 179 different movies.
Wow.
Oh, that is amazing. And he made them in the golden years of Hollywood. You know, he was born actually in Iowa.
Really?
Yeah, in Winterset, Iowa, in May 26, 1907.
Mm-hmm.
But he soon moved to Southern California. I think he moved up in the Palmdale area at first. And then his family moved to Glendale. And he went to Glendale High.
Got closer to Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. First of all, do you know how he got his nickname, the Duke?
Oh.
There was a local fireman at the station, right, in Glendale by his high school.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to call him Little Duke because...
Oh, really?
Yes. They used to call him Little Duke because everywhere he went with his Airedale Terrier, this huge Airedale Terrier, which name was Duke.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's great.
So he preferred Duke to Marion. And the nickname stuck.
I would too.
Yeah. And the nickname stuck. See, I always thought they gave him the Duke in Hollywood, but apparently it was when he was in high school. And then, did you know this, that he applied for the U.S. Naval Academy?
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he applied for the U.S. Naval Academy. The problem was he was not accepted because his grades weren't up to snuff.
Oh.
But he ended up going to the University of Southern California. I guess the grades were okay there. Because
He's a genius.
Yeah. No, because the dude was 6'4.5" and he got a football scholarship.
Oh. Now that makes sense.
And he played on the football team for USC under famed coach Howard Jones back at the time. Yeah.
Oh.
He had to give up the scholarship because he broke his collarbone. Not in football, in body surfing.
Oh.
Boy, man, you're in Southern
California at a bar.
I mean, you're in Southern California. You got to go surfing.
Yep, absolutely.
So, of course, he lost his scholarship. But then, of course, he had to drop out of USC because he couldn't afford it. But he still ran some errands for the coach because the coach used to give Tom Mix, which was a big cowboy silent era movie, and John Ford free tickets to USC games.
Really?
Yeah. So the coach got this guy a job at Fox Film Corporation, and he would use him to give the tickets to Tom Mix and John Ford.
Wow.
It was just a kind of like a lackey, and while he was working there, he was given a small part because this guy saw him moving furniture. But he looks like he'll fit in the role. And his only time that he wasn't cast as John Wayne was in a movie called Words and Music. He's listed as Duke Morrison.
Oh, that would have been that bad. But Wayne's better.
Yeah, but Wayne sounds so much better, huh?
Yeah.
All right. But now they decided in the 1930s they were going to put him in a movie called The Big Trail. And they didn't like Duke Morrison. So the director, decided that they would give him the name Anthony Wayne. And he said
really?
that,
Okay.
Yeah, after the Revolutionary War general Mad Anthony Wayne. But what ended up happening was a Fox studio chief who was by the name of Winfield Sheeran rejected the name because it said, get this, he said it sounded too Italian. I'm trying to still figure that one out. How does that sound Italian? So, Walt suggested John Wayne, and they agreed to the name. Now get this, Wayne was never present for that decision.
Really?
They just said, oh, by the way, you're John Wayne now. And he got a raise. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Now his pay was raised to $105 a week. But I'm telling you this, his big break was Stagecoach.
Great movie.
Oh, yeah. They know one of those B movies. But still, It was great. It was one of the very first movies that was filmed on location.
Wow.
Before, everything was done in the studios or the back lots or whatever, but they decided to do that one. And he didn't get top billing because there was a bigger star by the name of Clive Trevor who was a bigger star at the time, and he got top billing. But still, that was his major role for him.
Wow.
Yeah. But then what happens? America enters World War II. Apparently, John Wayne wanted to enlist, but he was considered too old. He was 34 years old at the time of Pearl Harbor, which is you're too old for the draft, and he had a family status, which classified him as 3A. But Wayne actually begged John Ford to let him enlist. And he
really?
Yes. He wanted to enlist, and they told him, nah, you ain't going to do it. So what ends up happening is that he's ready to quit and join, and the head of Fox Studios, I think his name was Herbert J. Yates, says, you quit this contract and we're going to sue you. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He was a big, he was a big money drawer for them, and there's no way they're letting this guy go fight.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. This is the interesting thing, Cotton. In the U.S. National Archives actually has a record indicating that Wayne put an application for the OSS, which is called the Office of Strategic Services, which is the predecessor to the modern CIA.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
That's pretty pretty cool.
Yeah, but of course, Fox Studios got in there and they said, nah, you ain't doing it. So what he ended up doing was doing tours with the USO. He went out in the Southern Pacific for the USO, and then the OSS kind of hired him a little bit, just said, you know what, can you kind of take a look at Douglas MacArthur and make sure, and his staff is not hindering the work of the OSS. And so kind of, he was kind of working for the OSS. Matter of fact, he got a certificate of service from the OSS.
Wow.
I guess for spying on MacArthur, huh?
Yeah, really.
Oh. And then not only that, but he was also a producer. He produced, if you remember, The Alamo. Remember that movie?
Really? John Wayne did? Yeah.
Produced and directed The Alamo.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah, that was a big time picture too.
Yeah.
And see, he broke the rule of producers. Do you ever watch the movie Producers by Mel Brooks?
Yeah.
What are the two
Years
rules?
ago.
Yeah, what are the two rules of producing? Do you remember that?
No, it's been a long time.
Number one, never use your own money.
Yeah.
Number two, never use your own money.
Yeah.
Well, this almost bankrupt John Wayne. It was very, very expensive movie to make. Big stars in
Yeah,
it.
I bet.
Richard Whitmark, remember him? He was a big star
Sure.
at the time and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1962, he starred in one of my favorite movies was The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Oh, great, excellent movie.
Oh, Lee Marvin in that movie was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a lot
Yeah,
of Jimmy
all of
Stewart.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart's another one. Oh, you're absolutely right, Cotton. A great, great movie. Then
Yeah.
he did Hatari in, remember that one?
No, I don't
Oh,
remember that
yeah. This is the interesting about Hatari. If you ever watched it, is that he's a big game, not a hunter, but he catches wild animals in Africa for like zoos, and I mean he doesn't, he's not the big white hunter or anything like that. But the way they do it is they have a little seat that sits on the side of a Jeep, and they have have you seen these dog catchers, and they have that long pole with the rope around it to catch a rabid dog or.
Yeah.
Well, that's how he catches the animals. They're riding in the
Wow.
Jeep and they hook them. Now get this. All the animals in that movie are real.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So all the stuff that you see in that movie is real.
Yeah, send the big guy in.
So yeah, that was always interesting because we didn't have computer generated images, CGI or anything like that. So I mean, these animals that are running out in the out there in the jungle, not the jungle, but the plains, are actual African animals.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Then he did The Longest Day,
Amazing.
which was a great movie.
Yeah.
And then of course Big Jake.
I love Big Jake though.
I
Big
know
Jake
you
was
do.
One of my favorites.
Oh, I know you do. I know you like John Wayne. You've always liked John Wayne movies.
Oh yeah.
My brother-in-law loved John Wayne. We even gave him a cup one time with John Wayne's picture on it.
Oh wow. Yeah. I would have loved to have met him. He's he didn't live far away, but they said he was such a gracious person that he would shake hands with people right and left, and
That's what they say. Yes. Oh, and by the way, he used the same 1873 Colt single action Army revolver for most of his movies. The same gun.
Wow.
And the other thing about John Wayne, his hair started thinning in 1940.
Yeah.
So he started wearing a toque.
Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah. They weren't very good. That's that's why I cut my hair so short. I'm almost the Bruce Willis look, because the hair that I do have looks like a cheap toque. And the funny thing was that he was doing a speech in Harvard University one time, and one of the students asked, "Is that your real hair?" And the guy, and John Wayne answered and said, "Well, it's real, but it's not my hair."
Yeah. Then he squeezed it and went,
Yeah. And the other thing was, this is a lot of things people don't know, because he had that real rough exterior and just a really cowboy type of guy. He loved literature. He was a constant reader. Oh. Yeah. Loved the old classics, historic novels, a guy, and get this, an avid chess player. He loved chess.
Wow.
Yeah, by the way, after he had done the Shoot Us, which is one of my favorite movies, he passed away of cancer about 3 years later. Stomach cancer.
Great movie.
Yeah. Excellent.
Every one of his movies were pretty good. Yeah.
Died in June of 11th, 1979 of stomach cancer. Yeah, he was just bigger than life. He was just somebody who was just, when he was on the screen, There was nothing else, man. He kind of like sucked the oxygen out of the room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And he used to go around too and shake hands and
Oh
stuff. It
yeah,
was like
yeah,
it was great. I mean, and in Newport Beach, a
yeah.
Catholic and a big dude that you don't want to mess with. What's better than that?
and they even, and they even named an airport after him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I fly out of there a lot,
yeah. How many times have we
or I
flown out of
used to
there?
anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Oh, well, let's do this. Let's go over the top 10 movies judged by Rotten Tomatoes of John Wayne. The top 10
Okay,
movies. All right. I know. I know. This is a ranking according to Rotten Tomatoes.
okay,
And this is the best, not the worst.
okay.
Number 10, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. 1962. Then we already talked about that one. They say that one is
Yeah,
considered one of the greatest westerns of all time.
yeah. That was a great film.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're not kidding. And this one I know you like. The next one, number 9, is Rio Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets,
Uh,
yeah, and he gets Dean Martin,
oh yeah.
Ricky Nelson, and Walter Brennan to help him.
Yep.
Because
Claude Atkins. You gotta can't remember. Can't leave him out of there.
oh, one of my favorite Walter Brennan movies, and you need to see it if you haven't, The Westerners.
Oh really?
Oh, man! I remember I was trying to watch that movie because I only saw bits and pieces of it, and finally, it comes out in late night TV, right? So like 11 o'clock, and I'm going like, perfect. I need to see this movie. I can see it in its entirety. And guess what happens?
What?
Kathy goes into labor.
Oh.
So
Did you say, can you hold it for a bit?
that was my next thing. You're not going to say, oh, no, I want to see this movie first. Because this was way before DVRs and all of that stuff recording. And I had been wanting to see this movie for who knows how long. Hey, man, I know what side my bread is buttered on, okay? We went right to the
There
hospital.
you go.
All right. The next one is El Dorado. That was always a good one as well, too. He's always against tycoons. Yeah. This one was a land tycoon. I think the other one was cattle tycoon. And then the one that you like, Stagecoach 1939, which was big break. He's made some movies that I like that's always like cat and mouse type of movies. He's not the big hero, but he's like, for instance, in the Long Voyage Home. It's about this merchant ship that has to pick up a cargo of dynamite, and then they have to transport it from the West Indies to Baltimore. But as they're going across the Atlantic, they are being chased by Nazi submarines. A lot of times during the beginning of the war, there was no escorts because America hadn't got into the war yet. And even though America needed this material for the Lend-Lease program, so in other words, make weaponry for the Allies, but they were not involved in the war yet, there's a lot of ships that went without escorts. So that's the whole thing on this one, is that they have to be able to outfox the Nazis in this submarine.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, exactly. The other one is Fort Apache. That was number 5. Remember that one? That one starred Henry Fonda as a disgraced general and a West Point graduate, and he's trying to get back into his glory years. And get this, guess who else starred in it? Because he comes out with his daughter, and his daughter Shirley Temple.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's a great movie. They butt heads because John Wayne is the guy that knows the era. He's streetwise, all of this, and this guy just basically is a disgraced general from the Civil War, and he wants to kind of almost like Custer, doesn't understand his enemy, and he's trying to bring back his old glory. John Wayne's trying to warn him, you just get the people killed. It's not it's a very, very good movie. And then there's Red River, was ranked number 4. And that one starred Montgomery Clift.
Oh yeah.
One has to do with ranchers. Yeah, of course.
Yep.
A cowboy movie, Red River.
Yeah.
Okay. So, there's a cattle drive, and it's a very, very good movie. But the number
Yeah.
three, I didn't know if this one should have ranked as high as it did. The Sands of Iwo
Really?
Jima.
Yeah. See, I love that movie.
Well, the thing is, it really didn't deal with Iwo Jima.
Oh, really?
Except at the very end. At the very end, they finally
Yeah.
do it. They finally do it, but basically, it's kind of like they're going through a boot camp or getting ready for the big battle. And then at the very end, then they get the battle. And of course, I think everybody's seen this movie, but at the very end, John Wayne gets shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they actually had, I think, 3 of the men that raised the flag on Iwo Jima in small parts in this movie, as extras in this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wow. What a trip.
Yeah. Number 2 was the Comancheros. And that one was, again, a Texas Ranger, Jake Cutter.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to go after a gambler who escaped the noose. So he's got to go to Louisiana, and he's got to bring him back.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And number 1 is the Sons of Katie Elder, which I didn't think should have been number 1, but they
call it.
What happens is there's 4 brothers, and one of them's Dean Martin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're 4 brothers,
wow.
And they turn home for their mother's funeral and discover that their father has gambled away the farm. They decide that they're going to take revenge because it kind of turns deadly. Yeah, so they end up going after the local sheriff and the rival families.
Wow. With John Wayne and Dean Martin, they probably drank away their farm.
All right, now, those are the list of the top 10, but Padre has his best list as well. So we'll just go over just a few of them. She Wore a Yellow Ribbon is one that I really like. And it's just talking about transporting some people from one area to another and usually escorting a young lady. And then, and so of course, all the guys are Googling over her. But the point of the matter is that there's unrest in that area. And it's kind of like an old-fashioned type of Western. It's very, very good, I thought. The other one, which is one of my favorites, and it really doesn't get the credit that I think it deserves, is The Horse Soldiers. William Holden. And this is kind of what this is like the March of Sherman going through Atlanta. In other words, so they're there and they go to this town during the Civil War. And of course, they're called horse soldiers, so they're the cavalry. And they go all the way down into the South, into this main junction of the railroad, in which case they destroy the railroad. And, they heat up the rails and they bend them so the South can't use the rails for supplies. They can't use the railroad for the supplies. And I think that was actually what the Southern soldiers, or the Confederate soldiers, after Sherman got through, they used to call them, after they did the same thing, used to call them, I think, Sherman's bow ties. Because they would take the rails and they twist them around, twist them, and they would call them Sherman's bow ties because there's no way you can use those rails again.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. There's no way you can use those rails again. So, yeah, so that was a good one. I really like that one. And how can you not rank True Grit up there? I mean,
great one.
Oh, yeah. He won Academy Award for that. How can you not rate that?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Seeing that in the big screen, it was great.
Yeah, and even the one with Jeff Bridges isn't bad. The remake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. The next 2, I can't decide which one's number 1. They are tied for Padres number 1. The first one is The Shootist. I think that is one of his greatest roles. I mean, let's be honest. Lauren Bacall, Ron Howard, James Stewart, just to name a few, are in this movie. I mean, there's a lot of big stars in this. Old stars of the 40s and 50s. I mean, he goes to see James Stewart, who happens to be a doctor, and he finds out he's got cancer. And so remember, and he just goes there just to I mean, just to say, you know what, I want to die peacefully, but of course trouble finds him. And at the very end, he goes out the way he should as a gunfighter in a big gunfight.
Yeah.
You know? So that's just a great movie. Just a great movie. And the reason why he made that, there was a movie 30 years earlier called The Gunfighter. And basically it was on the same premise, and he turned it down, and he was sad that he did.
Yeah.
That film is ranked as the 10 best films of 1976. You know, they make a lot of films, man. It won, it was nominated for an Oscar, won Golden Globe, and it won Writers Guild of America award. So it was pretty good.
Huh.
I cannot figure if that one's my number one or the next one, The Searchers. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
I don't think I have.
Cotton, you've got to look it up on any of your streaming services and see it. Done in 1956. It is probably John Ford's greatest work.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And the whole idea in this movie is that he comes back from the Civil War, and apparently there's a raid on the settlers, and the Native Americans take some hostages, and they happen to be related to John Wayne. So they go after them because they want them back. Because it starts off, you know, the hero, he's gonna go and he's gonna rescue these people, but it turns pretty dark. That one of them is a very young girl who has been kidnapped. He's very, very short role. Happens to be Natalie Wood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just a real small role at the very end. But you see, he's going after him, not to bring her back, but to kill her.
Really?
Yeah, because she's been violated by Native Americans. Oh, it turns really dark. I mean, it's an awesome movie.
I don't recall
that
at all.
I mean, he doesn't flat out say it. He just continues to, make inferences that she doesn't deserve to live.
Wow.
I mean, it's like I said, you start off, okay, he's going to be the big hero that's going to go out and he's going to rescue these people. But there's other reasons. You need to see it. It is quite good.
Done the year before I was born.
You weren't even born yet. What do you say? I'm older than the Searchers.
Yeah, no wonder I missed it.
All right, my man, we're running a little long. What do you say we end this one, buddy?
Sounds good to me, Padre.
All right, have a great one, okay? Bye-bye.
Nos vemos después.
We'd like to thank you for listening and leave you with this one quote from John Wayne. Courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway. And until next time, may God bless.